Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session today. We're very happy that you could join us. Today's session is also part of our Racing Boys campaign, which has been a month-long campaign where we've been looking at different aspects of racing boys and how to overcome gender stereotypes in parenting. And today we will be talking about gender sensitivity and how to create a positive environment at home for your children. And our guest for today is Subha Parthiv Sarathi. She's a counselor, trainer, parent coach, and life skills facilitator who has been working with children, parents, and adults for the past 14 years. She is a founder of Magic Hive, a counseling, training, and life skills center for parents and children in Bangalore. Magic Hive does transformative work in helping thousands of parents and children discover and nurture the magic in themselves through empathy, compassion, and love. So thank you so much, Subha, for joining us today.
Thank you, Vani. Thank you for having me here.
It's our pleasure entirely, ma'am. So, talking about gender and raising children and the role of gender sensitivity and all of that. So, I wanted to start off by asking you about your children. Can you tell us about your kids?
Okay, I have two. My elder one is a boy. He's 22. He's completed 22. And my younger one is a girl. She's 17. She'll be completing 18 now in a few months.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us, you've raised a boy and a girl, and in your own experience, have you faced any differences in raising, children of both genders?
That's an interesting question. Uh, in terms of, looking at them, I see them as different individuals. So that is something that has been a conscious thought, um, from very early, that they are different individuals, and each individual requires a different, maybe, way of working with them, because they come with their own stuff, and how you work with them is going to be different. So in terms of raising them as a boy or a girl, uh, I'm not very sure, because I have been very particular about certain things. We have followed, certain things in terms of emotional awareness, expression, safety protocol. So it has been kind of, we work with both of them in that stream. But yes, there are differences, um, which comes up naturally at times, and having those conversations with both of them, in so many years, we still keep having those conversations, because my daughter is 17, and she likes to be out. So she likes to cycle, she wants to go for trekking, and she wants to go for these solo things, and this topic does come up, and she says, okay, you will allow bhaiya, and maybe you don't allow me. And we have those conversations where it's not just about him or her. The protocols are the same, the safety protocols are the same, and how you take care of yourself and the other person. So yes, it is different, but it is not based in terms of a boy or a girl, but in terms of them being different individuals. That has helped, both me, my husband and me, to work with them in a certain way.
Definitely, that is so true, ma'am. In terms of, you know, when you look at a boy and a girl, so with boys especially, a lot of times, um, even though they might not hear it at home, there are certain stereotypes that exist around boys where you say, boys should not cry and they should not be weak. Um, these can be harmful for a child who's just growing up and really, is just feeling sad or want to cry, but is not able to express themselves. So, how do we overcome these kind of stereotypes?
By becoming aware ourselves, by working with ourselves as parents, as adults working with children, I think, um, we need to recognize and acknowledge that we do not have those kind of skills, or we need to recognize that we need to build certain skills for parenting. somewhere there is this belief that parenting comes very naturally, and we don't even realize that we are following what we have heard or what we have, ingrained in ourselves, and just giving it out. Our beliefs are what determines our behavior. So to become aware, awareness is the first step, I would say. For adults who are working with children or have children, self-awareness is the key to it. And the second step is to how you use that awareness when you're working with children. So whether it's a boy or a girl, they do have feelings. How do you help the I think that's the space. There is a gap, right? Boys are growing up with the thought that they need to be strong, or when they cry, it's weakness. And in my experience now, what I'm seeing is even girls are going through it, where girls are being told not to be weak, or women grow up thinking that they have to be strong all the time. So both for both of them, it is harmful. And that comes, this first step is, as adults, we need to become aware and then give them that emotional awareness. For children to be able to know what they are going through, what is the difference between the thought and the feeling? How do you, know what you're feeling? How do you manage that feeling? How do you regulate that feeling? That, if that is given, then these stereotyping is not going to be that, it's not going to hold good at all. Because if boys are willing to know what that they are going through, they are able to express it and manage it, then there's nothing to hold on to. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
No, that makes sense. I think like you said, emotional awareness is sort of how you equip your children to face, all of these, like, not just face, but to overcome these stereotypes. So, talking about emotional awareness, ma'am. So, how do you, as parents, how can you help our children be emotionally aware? What are the few steps? For instance, let me just give you an example. For instance, a child has done really bad in exams, badly in his exams, and he's come home and he's upset. What can we do? As how do we make him feel better, or make him resilient and overcome this sort of hurdle that has come in his way?
That's the situation. So would you like to be the child, and we can try it out as a role play?
Okay, sure. Yes.
If you're open to it. If you're open to it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I enjoy role plays. So maybe we could try something. So you're the child. So yeah, you go ahead.
Um, I don't want to talk about it.
You're sounding really upset right now. Must be very disappointing for you.
Yes, it is, but I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I can see right now it is upsetting. And I could also see that you had put in a lot of effort in this test, and it did not come out the way you expected.
Yes, I had worked really hard for it, and I feel it's very unfair that I didn't do so well.
You're sounding upset with yourself that it didn't come out the way you wanted. Yeah. Yeah, at times, sometimes when we are doing things, we expect something and it doesn't come out the way, and it is disappointing. How disappointing is it for you? Could you tell me, between 0 to 10, how disappointing is it for you?
I think maybe 6.
And where do you feel it in your body?
I feel it in my stomach. It's very tight.
It's very tight. So would you like to just stay with it? Just breathe in, breathe out, and just allow it to be.
Okay.
Now, how are you feeling?
I feel a bit calmer.
Is there something else you would like to share with what's coming up?
Um, I still feel very disappointed.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be there for some time. When some things don't happen, we can be disappointed.
But I don't
Is
like this feeling.
Yeah, it's unpleasant.
Mm.
Don't like it that much. Have there been other times when you have felt this disappointment?
Yes, but it's been different. It's different this time.
How is it different?
I don't know.
I'm glad we are talking about it. Is there something that I can do for you right now that would help deal with that disappointment?
I would like a glass of water.
Okay, here it goes.
Thank you.
Would you like to stop here or you want to?
I think we can stop here. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, how was that for you when you started saying, I don't want to talk about it? And then we had this whole conversation. So,
Yeah. I think it was interesting how you sort of acknowledged how I was feeling without prodding me to um, give you answers. Like when I said I don't want, you were like, okay, I understand. You don't have to talk now when if you don't want to. So that helped. I think it sort of yeah.
yeah, the main thing when we are talking about emotional awareness is we are not trying to make anybody feel better.
Mm.
I'm not trying to make you feel better or make that feeling go away or, you know, start working with the logic. You didn't study or you should study more or practice more and or try better next time. I'm not getting into that space. I'm just giving my full presence to you in terms of what's going on with you. And you are important. Even if it could be just a simple test and the parent might think, why are you making such a big issue? It's okay with us, not a big deal. But it's not about me. It's about you.
Mm.
And that is when things shift. When we are able to be there with the other person with whatever feelings they're going through, giving them that vocabulary. Children don't have the vocabulary to tell you what's going on.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it makes it more challenging to express. Now, if I don't know what I'm feeling or I'm not able to identify it for myself, how can I tell you that this is what I'm feeling?
Mm.
And even if I tell, sometimes as parents, we are uncomfortable with it. So I am uncomfortable with you being uncomfortable. So I
Mm.
suppress your feeling.
Right.
And that is what is creating a lot of these other troubles also.
Mm.
And especially with boys, because we ourselves are uncomfortable seeing girls. We are, thoda sa okay when they cry but it is based on our belief. अरे लड़का है, रोना नहीं चाहिए, yeah. How will he become strong? Or the world is so competitive, so he has to be strong. If you don't allow that space for the person to be who he is, how will he go out and face any challenges? That's why they go out, put that mask of being strong. And in terms of strong, they pick up strategies that are not at all constructive.
Mm.
By putting others down, by, showing their power through their strength. And that is absolutely not constructive.
Mm. Right.
That's basically coming from not being able to regulate your emotions.
Mm.
It's not just for them, for everyone.
Right. So it's interesting how you said, a lot of it starts with parents being aware themselves of saying, of not pushing, like if the child is upset, saying don't cry or don't be sad. So as parents, how can we sort of build this self-awareness?
No, that's a question. I need to put across to you. How do you think? because the work that I do in the space, it's been almost now 14 years where I do training for parents. Training in the sense, it's just an awareness workshop that I do. It's based on 10 sessions where we work with all these different concepts on how do you make those connections. So for me, what I believe is when the intentions matter. So when I have the intention to connect with the other person, I will find a way out. But if my intention is to correct the other person, I just follow whatever I know, whatever I've learned. I think we have reached that space where we need to acknowledge it for ourselves कि जो हम लोग कर रहे हैं or whatever we are doing is not working. We need to shift. We need to change the way we are looking at things. And unless we do that, nothing is going to change.
Right.
What I feel sad about when I see is that children are suffering through all this. Though we are giving them everything, all the material stuff we are giving them, all the best of resources we are giving them, but there is no ground. They're not standing on any ground. It's groundlessness for them because they're not even aware of what's going on with them. And we are seeing it. We are seeing children getting into depression. We are seeing children getting into that, you call it, gender stereotyping and working. Oh, dad has to work or mom has to cook and stuff like that. Not being helpful at home or doing what they want for themselves. That lack of empathy. And I see that in both the genders. It's not just in boys or in girls. And we are seeing those outcomes. And we are not taking that step towards it. Till it reaches that extreme level when we don't know how to deal with it on our own. We need to be proactive, to look into ourselves and start looking at alternate ways of raising our kids. And if that comes about, then yes, the boy, the girl, we are more conscious where we are coming from. So my son is 22. He's been at home because of COVID. He works from home, but it is part of it that if there are clothes in the washing machine, he puts it up, out. It's not that I have to ask my daughter to do it, or it is understood. My husband helps and pitches in the kitchen. He keeps rice. So it is understood that you may be doing whatever you're doing. At the same time, you contribute towards the house and be part of it. That helps them to understand how much it takes to run a house, how much it takes, that small things, even keeping, that segregation of garbage, keeping that, it needs to be part and parcel of our life where people are contributing. But that will come only with awareness. Many a times we tell our children, your work is only to study. नहीं, तुमको पढ़ना है, तुमको कमाना है, तब तुम करो. वो तब तुम करो तो नहीं आएगा. There is a shift. Things are changing. It is taking its own time. Yes. Maybe more awareness. Yeah.
So, you mentioned empathy, and that really interested me because I think empathy is such an important skill for children to have, and especially when it comes to these, the gender divisions or gender inequality. I think it's important for you to feel empathy for the other gender and understand what they're going through, and it works both ways, with boys and girls. So, what are your thoughts about it, and how can we help our children develop empathy?
Yeah, like you said, empathy is a very big word. To the empathy part comes only when you are receiving empathy, na? So one of the ways to look at it is, if you are receiving empathy while growing up, automatically when people are willing to give their presence to you, you are willing to give your presence to others. Okay, so that is an important part. Even the brain development for a child, they say that The way the brain develops structurally also is based on a lot of responses that we give to our children. So when we are bringing up our children, for example, you said about a boy who is disappointed, or what we say, grow up, strong raho, yeah, whatever. The child is feeling something, but we are telling him, I don't care what you're feeling. So how do we expect that person, whoever it is, girl or a boy, to be able to be present to the other person when they see them in pain? So that's the first place to start. For them to be, children need to be seen, to be heard, to feel safe. When they are get that kind of space, they are able to give the same thing to the other person. And empathy is a big word, Vani. So to break it down, just to be aware, I would say start being aware, making children aware of how people are contributing towards our life. Um, how gratitude is one of the things that can help build that skill of empathy. Right now, the way we are living our life, the gratitude comes in journals. We write it in journal. Oh, I am grateful, and we write only those things which are pleasant. Oh, this happened according to me, so I'm grateful. What if it doesn't happen according to you? Then you're not grateful. So gratitude needs to be part of our life, and that needs to be part of our conversations. Even things like somebody is delivering milk at our door every day. Somebody comes and puts newspaper at our door every day, whether it is raining, whether it is sun is shining, whether it is not shining. Have you ever paused and expressed gratitude for that? On how other people are. For younger kids, that is how it helps, where when you are noticing these things and having those conversations. See, it's raining so much and we have got milk today. That uncle must have taken so much of effort to come and bring it to us. Or when we are paying them, children are observing. When we are paying them, we say a thank you. Instead, what we say, we count the days they have not put, and we make that an issue. Again, it starts from adults. So in those small where you are giving your presence, you are noticing, observing how everyone around us is contributing towards us, how we can contribute towards others, keeping the complaint small and gratitude little more. That will help the child to become more aware of his environment, have that sense of belongingness, have that sense of interconnectedness. And when there is that sense of interconnectedness, automatically that sense of empathy or that understanding, that feeling that comes up. It is there in all of us, but it needs to be nurtured. It's like that seed in us. Pani nahi dalenge to it will not grow. Would that make sense? Or am I all over the place?
No, that makes absolute sense. Yes. So yes, like you said, I think gratitude is important. And yeah, it's a good way to teach empathy as well. So I've had this question in my mind for a while. Is empathy really something you can teach, or is it something that's sort of inbuilt? Because we often hear in parenting itself, we talk about, the importance of children being empathetic, but is it something you can help them learn? Or is it, they've come with a certain amount of empathy and that's it for life?
No, when there is neuroplasticity of the brain, then right now researchers say that, scientists say that our brain is neuroplastic. That means it's constantly changing with the experiences that you receive from the environment. So if that is true, then empathy is also a skill that you build. Because we do see that there are people who have grown up in environments which have not been empathetic towards them, but they make that conscious effort to bring that element into their lives. And there are people who have grown up in very, very empathetic environments, and they still choose to be, completely different from that. So yes, if there is a conscious effort and the intention is connection, then you are going to figure out ways where you build that skill, you hone that skill, and you use that skill not just for yourself, for contributing to others too, in the society and people around you.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting to know. Yes. Subha, one more question is about how earlier during our conversation you mentioned how sometimes when there is no emotional regulation, it results in anger. And we see this, I mean, in my experience, at least I've seen this more in men and in boys where, you know, aggression and you get really angry and you take it out on others. So, how do you handle these situations if your child is acting out in a way that's hurting others? How do you correct and how do you support him?
So like you said, the anger is coming from somewhere. Anger, when I look at anger, there is an underlying feelings under that. Anger is on the surface. And somewhere in our society, anger is still acceptable, but fear and shame is not. We don't accept our child being scared, but we are okay when the child gets angry. There is a certain amount of acceptance for that feeling, but not for the other underlying feelings. So when we are seeing that aggression is a reaction to what is going on inside, nature wise, they are not aggressive. It's just that they don't know how else to manage it, how else to regulate it. Correct. The only way we regulate it or we manage it is by saying, don't get angry. You should not get angry. But the same parent gets angry when not heard and whacks the child. So it's very confusing for children to understand that concept of anger. So when we work with this concept in life skills also, when we talk about, different feelings and anger, and so we talk about what is underlying that anger. What are you thinking? What is that need of yours that is not met, that is bringing up this feeling? What are you worried about? What are you scared about? That the whole aggression is an act. It's a behavior. We need to go behind the behavior to understand what is the real reason, what is the core there. To say he's aggressive is one thing. To pause and ask, okay, where is that aggression coming from? The child must be really frustrated, must be really, not clear about what he's needing, or some need of his not being met, that is bringing out that behavior. So the one way we can work with this is to pause and ask ourselves where it is coming from. And having those conversations. Okay, what is it that is, bringing out that anger? So once I was talking to this child and he said, I also exist. Nobody's seeing that I exist. How desperate the child must be to be seen. So if we are able to get to that point where we are able to, I keep telling parents that, and even myself, when we see a behavior, we can just address the behavior, or we can pause and go behind that behavior to understand what is really going on. Because that's what we want for others to see in us. If I whack my child and somebody sees me, do I want them to see my behavior and address it or judge me on that? Or do I want someone to understand me? Hey, Subha, what was going on? Something strong came up for you. Would you like to share? That is when I can understand myself. And that is what children need. We are no different. And boys, especially, because they are not allowed to feel. Don't be angry. Don't be sad. Don't be cranky. Don't cry. Be strong. Crying is for weak, this thing, are you a girl? So what do they do with all the feelings? How do they tell you that they are really, really feeling something? Through their behavior. If you're suppressing something, it is going to come out. We need to give them those tools. We need to give them those resources so that they can use that to express and manage and regulate it. What are you thinking when you hear me say that?
Yes, you're so right. I think it is true that we often react to the behavior than going back to thinking why the child is acting out that in that particular way. So I think it all goes back to what you said in the beginning about the importance of emotional awareness, um, because that sort of helps you with everything, all of this. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
there's this story of Mullah Nazruddin. I share it. It's my favorite story,
Right.
where he's searching for something under the street lamp. So his friend comes and he says, "Okay, what are you searching for, Mullah?" He says, "I'm searching for my keys. I lost my keys." And then the friend says, okay, I'll help you. And they're searching for some time. And then his friend says, we have been searching for a long time. Where did you lose the keys? He says, I lost it inside the house. So he says, then why are you searching under here in the street lamp? He says, there's no light in the house. So when we are looking under the street lamp, it is just the behavior you are seeing. Bachcha jhoot bol raha hai, bachcha is, the boy is trying to put somebody down, the boy is being aggressive, or girl is being like this. It's all the behavior that you're seeing. It is being manifested because of something going on inside. Are we making them aware of what is going on with them? How are we facilitating that process? What are we giving them? Giving them knowledge, education, best of schools is not going to help them understand themselves. We don't even realize there is a difference between a thought and a feeling. We use, I feel that, I feel this, but we are expressing a thought. When we are, even in our language, there is no clarity, then how are we going to be clear in our mind? And then you pick up all these things. Oh, I need to be strong. Boys don't do any work. We are just supposed to earn and come back and, give the money. The woman has to cook, earn, take care of kids, everything. Because there are no conversations. There is no clarity. And there's no talk about choice. So only when you have conversations, we have this conversation sometimes at home, and my daughter says, you do the cooking most of the time, or you get up early. So it gives me an opportunity to say that, yeah, there are times when I don't like it, but it's a choice I'm making right now. It helps me to take responsibility for what I'm doing. And if I want to change something, that also is a possibility.
So yeah, I think it was a really interesting conversation, and we've looked at different aspects of raising children and emotional, by helping them manage emotions. We've spoken about empathy and also how to help children overcome gender stereotypes. So it's been really interesting, Subha, and I think everyone watching the interview will definitely relate to some part of what you're saying. So thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your insights into all of this.
Thank you, Ani. Thank you so much, and thanks to Meera too for connecting. Gave me an opportunity to share what I feel so strongly about. So it gave me an opportunity, a space. Thank you so much. I'm grateful.
Thank you. And to all our viewers, thank you so much for joining. And we have these sessions every Friday with an expert in the field of parenting. So please do join us next week as well. I'll see you next week. Thank you.